Among the top reasons we are living through another 4 years of this malarkey is that a lot of people in this country feel very strongly that too many foreigners have gotten into our country, and if we just get rid of a lot of them and stop any more from getting in, everything will be so much better. Now, never mind the fact that undocumented immigrants make up somewhere between 1% and 3% of the population, contribute to key sectors of the economy, and collectively pay billions of dollars in taxes, which fund programs they can't even use. They've simply got to go.
Yeah.
Beyond the general knee-jerk feeling on the topic, though, things get muddy, as we've seen with the intra-MAGA debate over H-1B visas, for example. The xenophobia is really all over the place. At one end of the spectrum, you got folks who are mostly fine with undocumented immigrants as long as they don't commit crimes and put some effort into assimilating. And then at the other end, you've got people whose stance is basically, we're full, who are even against what's currently considered legal immigration. And there's, of course, the racial element where someone's worthiness as an immigrant might depend on whether or not they're white or how white they might be. But none of that matters, though, because what matters is what Donald J. Trump thinks. And what he thinks is that if you're rich enough to slip the bouncer $5 million, you're in the club.
Yeah. Easy, instant access. I mean, we all know what a green card is, right? But isn't it just a bit unfair that rich people who become permanent U.S. residents have the same colored ID card as all those poors?
Ew.
It's like having a plastic credit card versus getting one of those metal ones.
Yeah, you can hear it. You clink it.
Yeah.
It's got weight to it.
It's got weight to it. The server is very impressed.
No.
And look, why should the rich people have different colored cards? With all their wealth, why should they have to jump through the same bureaucratic hoops to get it? It's just not right.
Yeah.
Not in this capitalist-centric
demeaning.
country.
It's just not how things should work.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, for 35 years, there have been laws on the books that do, in fact, create a sort of VIP entrance for the wealthy. The EB-5 visa, where someone spends about $1 million on a business that creates at least 10 full-time jobs, and they get a green card in return. Our immigration system already greatly incentivizes wealthy immigration, but Trump's getting rid of that and simplifying things and doing it in a way that benefits him. You hand over $5 million to the U.S. government and you're in. You don't have to walk around carrying a hideous green card in your wallet. Baby, you're getting a gold card. And when she sees that gold card, she's going to say yes every time. Anyways,
oh, did I just drop my gold card?
Ding, ding, ding. Yes. They should make it metal too.
Yeah. Oh, they will. Yeah. So I did get this because I had $5 million just sitting around to hand to the U.S. government.
Yes.
There's a lot more where that came from.
Look, and like we've mentioned before on the show, it is a clear demonstration that this person is fairly easy to separate from their money. Like by the way, I paid the bribe. I paid the bribe, and I'm willing to pay more bribes if I get what I want.
Yeah, I'm rich enough to pay bribes.
Yeah.
A lot of people too poor to pay bribes, not me.
They should do the thickness of the gold card based on how much. If you donate more, you get a thicker card.
They should make it so thick,
it
doesn't even fit in your wallet.
The waitress can't carry it back to the hostess stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You drop that gold card and it hits your foot, you're going to go to the doctor.
Every time.
Because it's
Anyways, with more on this, here's CNN.
President Donald Trump said on Tuesday the U.S. would sell a gold card to wealthy foreigners, giving them the right to live and work in the U.S. and offering a path to citizenship in exchange for a $5 million fee. We're going to be selling a gold card, Trump said from the Oval Office. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus it's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. Trump said the sale of the cards will begin in about 2 weeks and suggested millions of such cards could be sold. Asked whether he would consider selling the cards to Russian oligarchs, Trump responded, yeah, possibly. I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people.
Oh.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, standing alongside Trump, said the card will replace the government's EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa program, which allows foreign investors to pump money into U.S. projects that create jobs and then apply for visas to immigrate to the U.S. They'll have to go through vetting, of course, Lutnick said, to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens.
And if they're not wonderful enough, there is a sliding scale where, they can donate a little bit more, get the thicker card.
The wonderfulness is, it can be modified by
Now,
certain other factors.
just at face value, this sucks. But also the fact that you would assume the worst, biggest dickheads from around the world would be the ones immediately flooding into the United States.
Yeah.
People who are ready, willing, and able to exploit what remains of the workforce.
So, yeah, it also, it raises the questions with everything else going on, whether the vetting process would be applied the same way.
No, Elliot.
No. But, yeah, I mean, the EB-5 it definitely had problems. I guess the big one was that, people in China, rich people in China were just sending their kids over with $1 million and, just start an LLC and hire 5 people. And it was, a sort of shortcut for people from China in particular to become citizens. So it's that's not great, but also you're just eliminating all of the all the hoops and just being all right, 5 million.
This was corrupt before, but we were doing this dance and that's stupid.
And it's been pointed out that this is something a lot of other countries do. For example, Peter Thiel is
New
Zealand citizen. After spending a week there. He just asked for it, and they're like, okay, well, he's rich.
I believe the government there, he gave them a promise that he was going to invest in companies there, and then just never did.
He didn't do shit.
And also, he just never goes back. So they gave him this deal, and he just never used it.
He literally just got it as, a contingency passport.
Yeah.
Just in case things go bad.
Yeah.
But, New Zealand at least has, the excuse that they are kind of in the middle of fucking nowhere, and they're like, well, he's gonna, tell all of his rich friends about New Zealand, and maybe one of them will invest. It's shady, but at least it has a purpose. The U.S. doesn't need that kind of PR.
And also just leaning back onto his campaign promises for his constituents who, based on everything that they've expressed over the past couple of years, would see this as something they don't want because they don't like immigrants.
But what if he gives each of us some money from those $5 million?
He's not going to, but but the idea is that he could. And also, when we said that they come over the right way, we meant by greasing all the palms along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, but kind of defines the country as a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. If you're not a Russian oligarch and instead simply came to the U.S. illegally in order to escape poverty and violence or give your children a brighter future, the situation is a little bit different for you, obviously.
Yeah, you're not coming through the front door. You're not coming through the VIP door.
You're not coming through the side door either.
You're not coming through any door. We're throwing you into the back alley.
Yeah. Here's the Washington Post with some insight on all that. He couldn't tell when the day started and ended within the windowless, peeling yellow 4 walls of his prison cell in Guantanamo. Diovar Uzcategui kept track of them by putting a small tear in the last blank page of a Bible after every third meal. The book was given to him by the military guards along with a blanket and a 3/4-inch foam pad to sleep on. He went to the bathroom in a bucket connected to a tap in the cell. And though he couldn't see his fellow detainees, he could hear them. Some of the men screamed. Others threatened to kill themselves. One, interviewed by the Washington Post, said he attempted it. During his 2 weeks at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Station, Uzcategui, 27, said he was rarely let outside. Both times he was shackled and placed in what he described as a cage. It was the only sight of the blue Cuban sky he got. So otherworldly it felt like a dream. They didn't treat me like a human being, he said, his voice flustered with indignation. They threw me in a cage. The Trump administration flew nearly 180 migrants from the United States to Guantanamo and deported all of them to Venezuela on Thursday. The Post spoke with 3 men who were detained in the U.S. military prison that has been used to house suspected terrorists since the September 11, 2001 attacks. All had crossed the border illegally, and although Homeland Security Secretary Kristi L. Noem called the migrants transported to Cuba the worst of the worst, the Post could find no other criminal record for those interviewed.
Well, they did the worst crime of all, illegally crossing a border.
The worst of the worst.
Unforgivable. Uzcategui, Jose Daniel Simancas, and Franier Montez said they were denied calls to lawyers or loved ones after repeated pleas. They said they were subjected to humiliating and invasive strip searches. They described prolonged periods in isolation with only 2 one-hour opportunities to go outside over 2 weeks. The migrants' conditions in Guantanamo were horrific and are far more restrictive, more severe, and more abusive than what we would see in a typical immigration detention facility in the United States, said Eunice Cho, a senior staff attorney at the ACLU National Prison Project. The American Civil Liberties Union is one of many organizations that sued the administration to allow legal access to the migrants. The migrants described being supervised by military guards, a concern for legal rights groups that have stressed that immigrants are there because of a civil immigration violation, not alleged war crimes like the 9/11 detainees. Blurring the lines between civilian and military enforcement, Cho said, encroaches on the division between civil society and militarized society. At the end of the day, military staff are not supposed to be enforcing civilian law, which is immigration law, Cho said. And by placing military guards to detain people in detention, that is exactly what is happening. Cho said the migrants' alleged days-long stretch in their cells also fits the definition of solitary confinement as laid out by the United Nations Nelson Mandela rules, which define it as holding prisoners for more than 22 hours per day without meaningful human contact.
So we're treating people whose only crime was illegally entering the U.S. like literal Al-Qaeda terrorists, housing them at Gitmo outside the jurisdiction of U.S. law and totally ignoring international human rights laws. But hey, I mean, there's still a lot of ways to make this even worse. In America, they're going to try.
Yeah.
For example, why not just hand over the whole operation to private military contractors? Specifically, how about the ones who did war crimes in Iraq?
Yeah, that would make it worse.
Here's Politico. A group of prominent military contractors, including former Blackwater CEO Eric Prince, has pitched the Trump White House on a proposal to carry out mass deportations through a network of processing camps on military bases, a private fleet of 100 planes, and a small army of private citizens empowered to make arrests. The blueprint, laid out in a 26-page document President Donald Trump's advisors received before the inauguration, carries an estimated price tag of $25 billion and recommends a range of aggressive tactics to rapidly deport 12 million people before the 2026 midterms, including some that would likely face legal and operational challenges, according to a copy obtained by Politico. The group, which includes some former immigration officials, is led by Prince, who has close ties to Trump, and Bill Matthews, the former chief operating officer of Blackwater, the military contractor known for its role in providing security, training, and logistical support to U.S. forces in Iraq and Afghanistan during the War on Terror.
And doing a few massacres in the process.
Yeah.
That's cool. So maybe the next time you're deported, it won't even be an ICE officer. It'll just be
some guy.
Some dude with a lanyard who says,
and a 3%ers patch.
I'm allowed to do this.
Yeah.
I've been deputized. You're coming with me. We will be putting this black bag over your head.
Which also will inevitably lead to people impersonating these types of
that's already happened.
And yes,
there's been like a weird thing.
Not
like,
great.
Right after the inauguration, there was like 3 separate cases of like weirdos just like pretending to be ICE agents and going around harassing people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gross. But luckily, for now, this Blackwater thing seems to just be a proposal. It is, though, a proposal that's based on the fact that in order to deport 12 million people before the 2026 midterms, as they supposedly plan to, that means deporting 500,000 people a month, which is impossible with the government's current resources, and therefore opens the door to the private sector getting in on the action. Getting rid of all these people would cost way more than what they contribute to the economy in taxes and labor, but you know, it's the principle, damn it. And hey, at least it would put some money in the pockets of our nation's beloved private military contractors.
The ones who really need it the most.
Yeah.
The ones who are truly suffering.
Those
mom and pop Main Street USA military contractors are suffering.
We haven't given them a war to do their thing in a while.
Ugh.
But yeah, speaking of new opportunities for PMCs like Blackwater, it remains extremely unclear how the hell Trump's big plans for turning the Gaza Strip into Atlantic City would work on even the most basic level. But the one thing that is clear is that step 1 would be ethnically cleansing Gaza's 2 million residents to make way for the Trump Gaza City or whatever the fuck it is. As for the other details, don't worry about it.
They'll get around to it.
Stop thinking about it. Just watch this weird fucking AI-generated slop that Trump himself posted to Truth Social on Tuesday.
And yeah, this is the second piece of AI slop related to Trump in as many days. Mr. President, a second piece of slop has hit the timeline. And that, of course, follows the AI-generated video of Trump just making love to those feet of Elon Musk's.
In hog heaven down there.
And that was, of course, playing on the TVs scattered around the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Very funny. This one Trump likes, the other not so much.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, maybe privately he does like it.
Yeah. Should have had more piss in it, but otherwise great.
You didn't see it, but I was peeing my pants the whole time. It does give some insight into what he envisions for the new Palestinian Free Gaza, that the U.S. will run or own or make the 52nd state after Canada.
Don't worry about it. Those are just details.
Basically, it's just Dubai, but instead of the state religion being Islam, Trump is revered as God. So there you go.
Way more fun.
Oh, and we should probably play a brief snippet of the audio as well, because it also seems to be AI slop.
Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1.
Wow, look out, musicians.
I mean,
your days are numbered.
It's a brief clip, but there are plenty of Easter eggs to look for. You've got androgynous belly dancers with beards. You've got Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk. You've got Trump dancing with a real baddie in the club. And you've got Trump and Bibi Netanyahu hanging out shirtless by the pool sipping beers. But yeah, the whole thing is very tacky, even by Trump standards. And also, like, with the not so subtle subtext of it being pure evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like glorifying
this is
the evisceration of someone's home.
If they'd had AI in 1940, they would have made one of these videos about like Poland.
Yeah.
Poland's just it's a great piece of land. The only problem is there's all these Poles, and even worse, all these Jews living there. But imagine what we could do with Poland. Here, look at this video.
And the Soviets aren't going to mind.
No.
We just did a deal with them.
They're going to take the eastern half, the shitty half, and we're going to get the rest. And it's going to be all good.
And here's what it's going to look like in great detail. And here's Hitler and Mussolini naked in the French Riviera.
Yeah. Just kicking back.
Yeah. Anyways, the whole thing, it's weird. Here's The Guardian with how Truth Social's users, if they're even real people, reacted.
After the 78-year-old president shared the footage, which includes the caption, Gaza 2025, what's next? He faced a backlash on his social media platform. One Truth Social user wrote, I could not be a bigger supporter of President Trump, but this particular video is in very poor taste. Very poor taste indeed. Another wrote, I hate this. I love our president, but this is horrible. The video might have gone down particularly badly with Trump's Christian supporters, with several comments referencing the idolatry of the golden statue, and others lamenting a scene showing Trump in a nightclub alone with a woman dressed as a belly dancer as a crowd looks on. Only one deserves the glory and the honor, Mr. President, wrote another user. The statue is a symbol of the Antichrist. Please humble yourself to God. Jesus is king, and only him. Other users described the video as sick and filth. One account with the name Kainoa P wrote, You're doing great, Mr. President, but don't let it get to your head. God put you in that position for his glory, not yours. It was not immediately clear who had made the video, although it had been shared online previously by other accounts unrelated to the White House. Trump shared it without comment. What appeared to be AI-generated lyrics accompanied the images. Donald's coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza's finally here. Trump Gaza's shining bright. Golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza, #1. Very cool, Mr. President.
I hate all of this so much. It's such a dumb, an evil time to be alive, but a very dumb, evil time to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see evil in like movies and stuff, and you're like, wow, that's what evil is.
Yeah.
But no, in real life, it's like, it's dumber, it's tackier, it's gross, it's cringe.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these elements to evil that you never see in movies.
Until you're living it.
Until you're living in it.
Anyways, we already talked about how those gold card visas mean that this is a great time for rich dicks from abroad, but let's not lose sight of the fact that it's a really great time for rich dicks who are already right here. But before we talk about Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, it's time to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Factor. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto Meals, and that's based on a randomized controlled clinical trial of Factor Keto. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise.
With 40 options options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat.
I just had a delicious pork loin with some garlic mashed potatoes and green beans, and I swear,
A feast.
I ran at least 30 seconds faster per mile.
It is fuel.
Yep.
Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
And here's some more fuel. Our other sponsor is Huel. It's time to take your nutrition to the next level. Meet Huel. That is Huel, the global complete nutrition brand trusted by over 400 million people. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a total game changer. It's a complete meal in a bottle that is high in protein, low in sugar, and packed with all the nutrients your body needs to feel and perform at its best. And right now, new customers can try it for 15% off plus a free gift using our exclusive offer at Huel.com/TechNewsDay15.
Huel is a perfectly balanced meal. Designed by experts to provide all the nutrients your body needs from a meal, Huel takes the guesswork out of healthy eating. It's for your most inconvenient meals. With no prep, no cooking, say goodbye to getting hangry and unsatisfying snacks. Just grab a Huel instead. They taste so good. Huel shakes actually taste like a milkshake, and they come in delicious chocolate or vanilla.
And these milkshakes aren't going to duck.
No, they're not. These milkshakes will remain your favorite.
Yeah.
Bonus is their low sugar. Lastly, Huel is incredibly affordable. With high protein meals less than $5, it's a budget-friendly option that we are genuinely excited about. My favorite is the Black Edition ready to drink because it's got a whopping 35 grams of protein plus 27 vitamins and minerals all in one handy bottle, and I'm always forgetting to eat. I'm always walking out the door being like, whoops, forgot about something, and it's eating, and I can just grab one of these out of the fridge and problem is solved.
I got a real sweet tooth, so having these be low in sugar and still be able to fill me up is a real godsend. And also access to quality, quick, and easy meals. It hasn't been this easy and tasted this good since ever. Don't believe me? Take the leap yourself and join the community of Hueligans with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% off plus a free gift with our code TechNewsDay15 at Huel.com. That is 15% off plus a free gift for new customers with the code TechNewsDay15 at Huel.com, Huel.com. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters.
But here's what really, really matters.
The news.
The news! And we're back to it.
Yeah.
And it's time for your daily dose of delicious Doge.
Oh, God. Speaking of sugar, I need some sugar to make
I'll
this
be
syrup
taking
better.
my Doge in bullet form. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And one thing that's been kind of strange about Elon Musk just unilaterally firing thousands of federal workers and personally deciding what the federal government should and shouldn't be funding is that every time a judge asks an executive branch lawyer who's actually in charge of Doge, they can't seem to answer that very simple question.
Well, that would put someone in a liability situation.
But that changed this week when they finally came out and told us what we already know. The administrator of Doge is, of course, Amy Gleason? Wait, what? Who's Amy Gleason?
Another in the long line of...
Is that one of his burner accounts?
It's one of Musk's other things that keeps repeating itself. The Fall Gal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the Verge. The White House has named Amy Gleason as the acting administrator of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. The news, delivered by an unnamed White House official to CNBC and other media outlets, follows days of obfuscation in courtrooms, the press, and the pseudo-department itself. Pseudo. Love it. It designates Gleason a likely target for the nigh continuous legal challenges over Doge's access to sensitive data and freezing of government funds, while potentially shielding its high-level leader, Elon Musk. Gleason's LinkedIn profile indicates she previously served in the U.S. Digital Service, which has since been converted to serve Doge's efforts, and worked for the healthcare investment firm Russell Street Ventures. It's unclear when she was given her current title or whether there are plans for a permanent head of Doge. And earlier today, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt refused to name a formal administrator for the group. I am not going to reveal the name of that individual from this podium, Leavitt said, telling reporters she would be happy to follow up later to provide it.
The most transparent government agency
yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Nothing to hide here.
We all know Amy Gleason.
Gleason.
She's been behind the levers the entire time.
Everyone's favorite DOGE administrator,
Yeah.
Amy Gleason.
Yeah. They should go back and Photoshop her into images of Musk and Trump.
Yeah, do the reverse USSR. Where
Yeah.
Instead of removing people from photos, you're putting them in.
Yeah,
old
she's
photos.
behind the president, like looking over. Yeah, he's right. Musk is right. And I approved all of it.
Yeah, go look at that picture over there. The Overlook Hotel's 1915
Yeah.
4th of July party. She's right there in front.
She was there the whole time. I don't know what you guys are thinking about.
She's always been the DOGE administrator.
Just like what's her name's always been the Twitter CEO.
Linda.
Hot dog. Yeah. Gleason was already identified as a possible leader in a February 18th Wired story where USDS employees described her as a liaison between DOGE, USDS, and other agencies. But at that point, Wired noted that little is known about her official role and said even employees weren't sure who was supposed to be in charge. The government has been cagey about who formally runs DOGE while leaving little doubt about who's in charge. Levitt and others have repeatedly identified Musk as overseeing DOGE's overall operation. At the same time, they've denied that he has any formal association with it, saying he's merely a special government employee serving as an advisor. This extends to statements made under oath in weeks of courtroom drama, as numerous state attorneys general and private actors argued that DOGE is operating illegally, while the government seeks to insulate Musk and avoid naming anyone the challengers could sue. A February 17th court filing asserted that Musk had no actual or formal authority in DOGE.
Come on.
Later, in a hearing on February 24th, Department of Justice lawyer Bradley Humphreys told Judge Colleen Collar-Cottley that he didn't know if anyone led the organization at all. Is there an administrator of DOGE at the present time? Collar-Cottley asked. I don't know the answer to that, Humphreys replied. By the way, on purpose.
Yeah.
Intentionally, so that no one can get in trouble when this inevitably collapses because everything they've done is fucking illegal.
You can't prosecute the head of a department that doesn't have a department head.
Yeah. And technically it doesn't even fucking exist.
Also, this Amy Gleason, she's apparently like been on vacation
Yeah.
for like most of the administration. I think this might be her first time learning about this as well.
Look, luckily, the Trump administration very keen on remote work. So
Calling her husband, being, honey, I got good news and bad news. The good news is I finally got that promotion I've been waiting years for.
Yeah.
The bad news is I'm the official fall gal of DOGE and maybe going to prison if the Democrats ever retake Congress.
Yeah.
But hey, for now, pretty cool, huh?
And everyone knows that I'm in charge and definitely not Elon Musk.
That's
just
right.
like with Linda Yaccarino.
The buck stops here.
Yeah.
The Musk stops here.
When I think of X and the people running it, I think of Linda Yaccarino.
Yeah. And she's like, waiter, hot dog, please.
Hot dog.
So yeah, add that to the pile of ways this is all playing out eerily similar to when Elon bought Twitter. DOGE even has its own Linda Yaccarino now. Hot dog.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the ketamine-addicted Afrikaner behind the curtain. But yeah, I mean, it's unclear who they're really trying to fool here. I guess the courts.
Yeah.
Elon is clearly the one who's running things and personally making all the decisions. He's not just some civilian advisor, and every interview he's done in the past few weeks, including one in the fucking Oval Office, plus the hundreds of tweets he's posted about it, confirms that.
Yeah.
His little snot-nosed, zin-popping, broccoli-headed minions even threaten to tattle to Elon when government workers get in the way of their plans. Do I have to call Elon? Elon! But hey, maybe it's so that if the law ever manages to catch up to all this blatantly unconstitutional shit, Elon can pretend that he had nothing to do with it. And actually, it was all Amy Gleason's fault.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Is everyone fucking insane, or am I the only one that can see this?
I tried to tell her, Amy, this is all so unconstitutional. You can't be doing that. Congress are the ones who decide what the U.S. budget is used for. It's their most important job in Congress. But Amy wouldn't listen. She just kept eating hot dogs and telling us which departments to cut.
It's probably because she's a lady. I shouldn't have hired her.
I'm off to Mars in my rocket.
Yeah.
But anyway, one thing that's becoming more and more clear as this has played out is that despite all the damage that DOGE is doing, and it's quite a lot of damage, and it's pissing off a lot of Republican constituents, they're still really not saving the country that much money. Certainly not enough to justify all the chaos. And here's the New York Times with more on that.
Last week, Elon Musk's government cost-slashing initiative, which he calls the Department of Government Efficiency, posted an online wall of receipts celebrating how much it had saved by canceling federal contracts. Now, the organization, which is also known as the U.S. DOGE Service, has deleted all of the 5 biggest savings on that original list after the New York Times and other media outlets pointed out they were riddled with errors. The last of the original top 5 disappeared from the site in the early hours of Tuesday, even as the group claimed in its latest update that its savings to date had increased to $65 billion. The website offered no explanation for why it had removed some items or how it had arrived at the higher total. Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, sent a written statement that did not address the deletions, but provided a broader defense of the cost-cutting initiative, saying it has already identified billions of dollars in savings. The wall of receipts is the only public ledger the organization has produced to document its work. The scale of that ledger's errors and the misunderstandings and poor quality control that seem to underlie them has raised questions about the effort's broader work, which has led to mass firings and cutbacks across the federal government. Yeah, no shit. This is, again, ripping my fucking hair out.
Yeah, I guess a big problem that everyone has noticed is, of course, the people running this shit have no fucking clue how the government works. They have zero experience. So a lot of government contracts and budget items have basically like an upper ceiling for spending, but it doesn't mean that it's going to go anywhere near that. That's just like they leave some wiggle room for it. And so everything they're listing, they're using the absolute highest possible dollar amount, even though like people who look at it, they're like, oh yeah, no, we always do that. Like it would probably be, if this contract was actually fulfilled, it would have been like 10% of that maximum amount, but they're counting it as we saved the government the whole amount.
Also, they're adding in some cases, contracts that have already been paid.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the biggest items on the list, I think they've removed it by now, was a cut that Joe Biden made like a year ago. Yeah. They're counting that as one of their cuts.
Yeah.
It's just so stupid. It's really like just if you believed in, I don't know, meritocracy or any of like the values that this country supposedly stands for, like how do you fucking sleep at night anymore? Like it's all bullshit.
They sleep very fucking well at night with their gigantic.
They do. I'm talking to
multi-camera security systems.
Yeah.
Fucking rooms full of guns.
They sleep great, but they never believed in that shit. They believed in the real thing, which is, you know, when you can afford that gold card, they let you do it.
Yeah.
But it's just out in the open, and it's so fucking dumb. Anyway, that's miraculously all we have to talk about with regards to Elon Musk today.
Okay.
Tomorrow's, of course, a different day.
Woo!
But it's time to move on from the world's richest man to the world's third richest man, Jeff Bezos, who has used Trump's return to office as a convenient excuse to just come out and remind everyone that he does own the Washington Post, and he didn't just buy it out of the kindness of his heart.
It's because his girlfriend with the giant boobies thought it was very impressive.
Well, no, he bought it back in like 2013, 11 years ago. And at the time, people were like, that's probably bad. But other people were like, shut up. Journalism's dying.
Yeah.
It's actually really good.
How could the guy who owns Whole Foods do something bad with Washington Post?
So right before the election, he made the highly unusual and pretty suspicious move of personally stepping in at the last minute to stop the Washington Post from publishing its editorial department's endorsement of Kamala Harris. And now he is once again meddling in the newspaper's editorial decision-making in a very self-serving way. Here's some of the email that he sent to staff on Wednesday morning. I'm writing to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. We are going to be writing every day in support and defense of two pillars: personal liberties and free markets. We'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others. There was a time when a newspaper, especially one that was a local monopoly, might have seen it as a service to bring to the reader's doorstep every morning a broad-based opinion section that sought to cover all views. Today, the internet does that job. I am of America and for America, and proud to be so. Our country did not get here by being typical, and a big part of America's success has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. Freedom is ethical, it minimizes coercion, and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are right for America. I also believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and news opinion. I'm excited for us together to fill that void.
God, they think they're so oppressed.
I have never, ever opened up a newspaper in this country, especially one of the major ones, and seen a neoliberal opinion ever expressed. It's simply not something you find in these newspapers. You open up the New York Times opinion page, the Washington Post opinion page, and you've got Marxist professors every day in there saying, we need to abolish rent.
Yeah.
And they're singing about it, and they're dancing about it.
Go down
and
to
it's
the
not
newspaper
right.
stand, and all I see is copies of the old Hammer and Sickle on there. And
It's about damn time that
conservatives had a voice.
That the newspapers in this country that are primarily read by rich assholes before they go to work serve the interests of those rich assholes by talking about how good it is to make money and how bad it is to tell people they can't say shit.
I don't know if you guys have seen the stock market lately, but things are going bad. And obviously that's not President Trump's fault, greatest president on earth, but these rich people have to have something that can divert their attention away from the pain they're feeling in the economy.
I want to open up the newspaper in my bed with my 10,000 thread count sheets on me, and I want to be reassured that I'm doing everything right.
Yeah. And we are
everyone
making
else is
sure
wrong.
that the new pages, that we're going back to the pages that you have to lick your fingers in order to turn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not licking it. I have a person that licks it
Yeah.
for me, but you know.
Yeah. Anyways, first off, we should be clear that opinion columns in major U.S. newspapers really don't have anywhere near the influence that they once had. And the only people who will even notice this make up a tiny portion of the population.
A very influential portion, though.
This won't have anywhere near the effect of, hypothetically, MSNBC firing a bunch of women and minority news anchors all at the same time.
That would be crazy if they did that.
Yeah.
It'd be so just blatant and undeniable what was happening
Mm-hmm.
if they did that hypothetical thing that we just said.
And that they certainly did do. But it's still troubling that one of the world's richest men is personally dictating what kinds of opinions are acceptable in the opinion section of one of the world's most prominent newspapers. Secondly, though, it's just bizarre as hell to act like free markets and free speech aren't being promoted enough in America's newspapers. What are you
It's
talking
insane.
about?
This is insane.
Yeah.
Have you read your own fucking newspaper?
Have you read any of the insanity out of the opinion pages over the past fucking year? Obviously, way more than a year, but specifically during the election.
The last, really, I can't think of a time the opinion pages didn't prominently feature those two things.
Yeah, the opinion pages have been seen as like a way to counteract the truth, which obviously has a left-leaning bias.
Yeah, I guess.
Now, thirdly, it's kind of weird to talk about how much you love personal freedoms and then tell people what opinions they can and can't share, you fucking idiot. Lastly, Jeff, these values are so important to you. Wait till you hear about the guy whose inauguration that you just attended. Here's Matthew Gault at Gizmodo.
Bezos is right. Personal liberties and free markets are under attack in the United States of America. They are principles that need defending right now. The president that Bezos stood next to during the inauguration has launched an unprecedented attack on both personal liberties and free markets. Just this morning, Trump demanded that Apple, a private company, get rid of its DEI policies after investors voted to keep them. Trump's tariffs, of course, are the opposite of a free market approach to the economy. This administration has also undertaken an increasing assault on the personal liberties of women, gay, and trans people. Trump wants to push transgender people out of the military, has eliminated legal distinctions that allow them to have government paperwork that reflects their identity, and overseen the greatest regression of women's rights in the past 100 years. I'm sure all of this will come up in the editorial pages of the Washington Post, a place Bezos promises will soon be a bastion of thought on these important topics. I won't be reading it, though. There's better and more thoughtful coverage of those topics everywhere on the internet.
Yeah.
You can read about that shit on the internet.
This is the same argument that there's a great episode recently. I played some of it for you of On the Media where they talk about just the funding from the government that goes into your local PBS or NPR stations and how that funds a lot of very important local news gathering, reporting, weather reporting, all these things serving communities that are heavily underserved in other areas. Yeah. And the argument on the right is that when you just remove all of that stuff, it'll be fine because people can just chat about what's going on in the city on the internet.
Yeah.
And that if people really had a desire for news in, I don't know, somewhere Alaska, they'd fucking figure it out.
Just go on X, the everything app.
They'll, just like Musk, who, takes a hatchet or a fucking machete, a battle axe to federal programs. If something breaks, we'll just spend lots of money rebuilding it. If the free market wants a news show in fucking some town in one of the Dakotas, they'll rebuild the radio tower that we destroyed.
Yeah. But yeah, the within the Washington. So first of all, their opinion editor immediately resigned. When Bezos did these, he's like, all right, I'm fucking out of here. Bye bye. I've worked at like every major newspaper in America, and I will find a better job somewhere else.
Yeah.
But then even like all of their news journalists are just like on the record publicly immediately. They're like, so far, this isn't touching the actual news reporting side of things, but the second I get even like an inkling that it is, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of posts. I follow a lot of the journalists there, and I've seen a lot of people posting like, hey, by the way, don't let this shy away from posting articles that they had just worked on. that are very obviously going against what Bezos would like his opinion pages to
It's similar to like, I mean, the New York Times' opinion section has been fucking garbage for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I just have to mentally separate that. I'm like, that fucking sucks, but their actual reporting is quite good.
Yes.
And you just got to treat them separately. But I don't
That's
know.
what having media literacy is. But the problem with these articles being shared online is that when you do share it online, especially when it comes from an opinion page, you don't have that separation of pages, of actual physical pages like you do with the physical newspaper.
Yeah, people are really, they're like, they see an op-ed and they think like, oh, this is what they consider news down at the New York Times.
It's
like,
the
no,
same
they
people-
don't actually. It says right at the top. It says right at the top.
People who think that Hannity is the news and not just a fucking commentary show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we're all doomed. We'll see you tomorrow for more. Please watch our other videos if you haven't already. They're good. They're fun. You should watch them. We all have a good time.
And
even though the news is
unlike
bad.
Trump, a gold card membership of our channel costs
$5.
only $1, not $5 million.
It's inflation proof, much like the Arizona iced tea. We are inflation proof in that way. Please watch our other videos, but before they pop up on the screen, you're gonna want to click the like button.
Yeah.
It's free. It's the least you can do.
Yeah.
You barely have to touch it. I'm sitting here thinking, why aren't we getting 2 million likes a video?
Yeah.
That's a lot more than the views,
That's
but like
the bare minimum.
anyways, leave a comment, talk about what we discussed today. We'll be back soon for some more news. Please subscribe to the channel, click the thank button, click the join button. Now watch the videos that are popping up.
Every button.
Just go nuts.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.